Real pace. Charles Leclerc has coped brilliantly. He won in Spa. He wins in Monza.
Inside the 20, Cook is chasing Munster, yes!
Balotelli. Aguero. Staggering. Just staggering.
Before we jump into the podcast, first of all, I want to give a major thanks to our sponsor, City Tattlesniffs Club, who have been an integral part of the life of Sydney. Founded in 1895 by a group of 20 bookmakers, City Tattlesniffs Club is going to be amongst the largest and most prestigious clubs in Australia. Located in the heart of the CBD in Pitt Street, 198 Pitt Street, between Market and Park Street. The club stands today as one of Sydney's finest entertainment venues, and just want to give them a massive thank you for supporting us.
Get started, we'd just like to welcome our new major sponsor, Connection to Sport, which is written as CNX2 Sports, run by the great Luke Edmonds. Connection to Sports is a sports events management company that helps organisations build networks and relationships via sporting events. They are also members of the Corporate Concierge Program here at the City Tarts.
Would I also like to welcome a major sponsor, Scape. Scape's Australia's best and leading student accommodation organisation in Australia across Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney. And thankfully, they've agreed to come on with the great Stephen Gaetanos, Parramatta supporter, jumping on and help supporting these three students that we are.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Dose Sports Podcast. And we're a man down with Charlie not here today, but off the in-stage bench, we got a good friend here, Benny Elias. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Or certainly on the eve of State of Origin. Very exciting.
Yeah. Just to delve a bit into your career first, obviously 1982, you make your debut for Balmain. What was it like putting on a jumper next to Gary Jack, Wayne Pearce, and the likes of Blocker?
Well, mate, it was a big shock to my system because Wayne Pearce was one of my heroes growing up, and never in your wildest dreams did you think that you'd be playing with your hero. And Wayne Pearce was a real big influence on my career prior to playing there at the Tigers, and being able to play alongside him, and then the likes of Blocker and Junior and Ciro and Gary Jack was certainly a real honour. And being coached then, my very first coach was the Australian coach in Frank. So
right,
it certainly was a real big kick to my life.
Yeah, when I was doing research for on you, and I went back and watched a few games, and then I was looking at Gary Jack. He's such a great mover. Where would you rank him in sort of the fullbacks that you've seen, or even current fullbacks? Where'd you put him?
Oh, mate, he'd be up there without a doubt. He's probably the toughest fullback I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just knew, he was the last line of defence, obviously, and you'd always rely on him. And, and he'd never let you down. Yeah. Tough in every way. I mean, he'd always do the hard runs, taking the ball off the line where, they're not pretty, but he would do them. And talk about toughness and getting the high ball. There's no one better than Gary Jack.
Yeah, for sure. Ben, do you want to go?
Oh, no, I was just letting you keep
going. Yeah, no worries.
Later.
Yeah, we'll move forward to that sort of 89 grand final. Obviously you lost that grand final, how do you look back on it, being part of such a famous and memorable grand final?
Well, I reckon a day doesn't go by before people asking me, if you hit that crossbar, we would have won that.
Yeah.
I suppose nothing's different to you again. It's the third time today, so you're the... We played against a very good side, the likes of Gary Belcher, Mal Meninga, Bradley Clyde, Ricky Stewart, Laurie Daly, Glenn Lazarus, Steve Wallers. I mean, those names are synonymous in the game of rugby league folklore.
Yeah.
And, to be beaten by a side of that nature was certainly no disrespect to yourselves. It was the game that we were supposed to win. They came out, they played a very tactical game. Unfortunately, we had Blocker Roach and Paul Sheeran, and two of Australia's best forwards at the time, being replaced throughout the game, which was a little bit of a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
But look, everything that went wrong certainly went wrong for us in that second half. And look, it was one of the great moments. It was one of the great. We talk about it now in 2021. We're talking about 89 grand final. Certainly just speaks volumes for what a great game it was.
Yeah, for sure.
Just maybe on a bit of a lighter note, could you bring us some light on some of the better sledges you got throughout your career?
Best sledges?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I can tell you probably the best sledger in the world was Jeff Bugden, without a doubt. He was the Bulldogs. Boxhead, Mario Fennick, Ricky Stewart was probably the best. I mean, there was no Ricky Stewart. He was, mate. He was very, very sharp with his. He'd certainly let you know. And another bloke was Craig Coleman when we played against South Sydney. Tugger used to give it to Ciro, and it was all. Ciro would always say, "Give me the ball. I'm running at bloody Coleman." He was half his. He just put a dent into him, and he was certainly great value, Craig Coleman. But I'd say the best of them would be consistently Ricky Stewart.
Yeah, fair enough. Ricky, I've heard a few sprays from him, so he'd be a good sledger, wouldn't he?
Oh, I'm sure he's doing a lot of sprays every week and down the Raiders.
I was only with him last week. I was with him. Fortunately, I went to the Bob Fulton funeral just a few days ago, and he was there, and we had a few drinks, and he was at his very best at, still going for it. So, he won't be down. He certainly lets you know that he's around the best sledger in town. Don't worry about that.
I was thinking, I've heard that Mario Fennick biting story. That's a really good story. But also I saw some footage of you getting in stink against the Bulldogs, and I think you got demolished by 4 Bulldogs in a row. Is there any other good stinks that you've got into? And are most of them sort of preempted, or do they just go off emotion in the game?
Look, I played in an era where the stink was a big part of the game. And, certainly State of Origin football, just against the Bulldogs, be South Sydney. You certainly have a blue with South Sydney, Bulldogs, always guaranteed Queensland in any game, State of Origin we would play. I'd be very surprised. I played 22 State of Origin games, and I reckon of the 22, we probably had a fisticuff somewhere in the 22 games that I played. You just knew it was going to be on. And no one got hurt. No one got seriously hurt, but it was certainly great because you'd get a toe with your opposition. You'd always try and get on top of your opposition. And my opposition were always bigger than me. In Mario, it was a big boy, and Boxhead was a real tough bloke. So they're the blokes that I got tangled up in. But it was a very big part of the game back then, and I think a lot of that's lost today.
Yeah. Is there probably one person you'd try to avoid?
I try to avoid Les Davison, mate. Les Davison, he'd give you so many looking for a ride. I mean, he was so tough, such a tough. And mate, when he hit, it landed, and you knew it. That's for sure. It was as they come. He was a real rogue.
So then, Benny, on that note, hypothetically, if PVL came to you tomorrow and said, I'm going to bring back the B for Origin, would you be all for it?
You know what, Benjamin? I'll tell you this. It's a good question. I actually think what you've just asked then is a very good question. Not that you even realise how good it was. I believe that there should be a differentiator to State of Origin versus the NRL week in, week out game. Whether it be reduce the biff or not, or what they do, I recommend is the shoulder charge. When they have a look at all the highlights today, you look at the shoulder charge, and it's obvious in the highlight reel that the shoulder charge was such a big part of the State of Origin games. I reckon they could reintroduce shoulder charge with dignity, without any hassle or worry to the players at risk, because obviously there's a duty of care to the players, and first foremost, the reason that they're cracking down is the duty of care to the players. But I just think having that spice, knowing that you can do a shoulder charge, I think everyone would just be loving it on the edge of their couches, watching or waiting for that big shoulder charge.
Yeah.
But it was good. I reckon Balmain should take it on.
Yeah, for sure. I back that call as well. Talking about refereeing into Origin, obviously you just touched on the crackdown there. How do you think that's going to affect into Origin? Do you think they'll be a bit more lenient in terms of high tackle calls, or are they going to make a statement?
Yeah, Arjun, that's a good question, because I say this. I'd hate to see the game of State of Origin being dictated or determined by a minute in the sin bin for a flimsy slap across the face, which, as we've seen in the last few weeks, there's got to be a little bit of latitude. They've got to give some latitude to the State of Origin. And I think common sense prevails. These are the best footballers on paddock. This is our showpiece. We don't want to be ruined by a silly or an unnecessary 10 minutes in the bin. Put them on report. I'm all for it. Yeah. But in the bin, you're going to lose one of the players for a big part of the game, which would be a real part on the game.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Very more.
Looking at when I was doing a bit of research, going back, I was watching sort of that 94 series, game 1. Obviously, you lose that miracle try, coin in the corner, and then game 3, you have one of your better games, your last game of Origin. Talk us through that Origin period for you. Like, how was it putting on the Blues jumper next to some of those names you were?
Yeah, look, Arjun, look. This is the great thing about State of Origin. I mean, both yourself and Benjamin weren't even born when I was playing.
Yeah, no.
but in the year 2021, we can talk back and you look at the games that you watched once upon a time in this great game that we play and the great showpiece of State of Origin. To be able to reflect on that, State of Origin meant almost the world to me. You know, having my children is the greatest thing I've ever. But let me tell you what. Let me say this to you: the great feeling of being part of State of Origin football has just been an absolute privilege, and to be able to talk about it for the rest of your life is the greatest gift that anyone can be given. Is something they've enjoyed or loved, to have something that they can last forever and a day. And here we are today talking about State of Origin football on the eve of the big game tomorrow night in Townsville, game 1, State of Origin. And to reflect back on that is such an honour and a privilege to be part of that. And it is a special group. It is a special time. And this is a special game. This is a game where people, the AFL, the soccer, basketball, tennis, all athletes who watch sport love State of Origin. The 3 biggest games in TV, not just in rugby league or just in sport in general, the 3 biggest rating TV shows are State of Origin, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And that is remarkable. And this is the showpiece that we talk about. And to be part of that history in the making was very, very special.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So just touching back on that, could you walk us through what it's like in your first call up into a rep side?
Yeah, well, this is something you can never prepare for. You can't read it in a book. You can't read this in the newspapers. This is something that you dream about in your bed by yourself when you close your eyes, when you set yourself goals for long-term goals when you're a kid. And when that dream comes true, it's surreal. It is something that you either have it or you don't. And this is the moments that you really cherish. And to be part of that, you pinch yourself, think, oh my God, here I am playing against the great Wally Lewis, Alfie Langer. This is a moment that you're playing with your greats of Steve Mortimer's. Growing up knowing these players, Brett Kenny, Eric Grove, these players are legends in their own right, and all of a sudden you're playing alongside them. It is a very hard thing to measure. You can't put money on it. You can't put a value on that. There's no monetary value you can put on putting on that blue jersey and playing for someone. And I get very passionate about this because I love it. And, I'll never forget our coach in Phil Gould once saying that everyone that you've come across with in life, everyone, whether it be your old girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend, a mate that you had a fight in the schoolyard with, the bloke, your best mate growing up, and the kid that you sat next to in second grade, they're all watching this State of Origin and you're playing with them. And all of a sudden you get that real feel and love and emotion that you think, oh, my God, there is nothing bigger in this world than playing State of Origin for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Really excited.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do it one day. Me and you, Ben.
Still Turkey, mate.
Yeah.
That boat has sailed.
Yeah, definitely. A bit late for us. Talking about, we hear as younger fellas, we sort of hear stories about Origin camp and how it's not really training at all. You don't do much training. It's a bit just 7 days on the drink kind of thing. Is that how true? To what extent is that true? And do you have any good stories from Origin?
Oh, yeah, look, don't be deceived by that. Let me tell you what, it is certainly. When you get picked, the first step is you never take anything for granted. So you take your name for granted being selected in State of Origin. When you get picked in State of Origin, well, then the journey starts. You start preparing for yourself straight away, and you cannot wait to get into camp, because when you're in camp, we have a lot of fun. A lot of fun is for 24 hours and only 24 hours, where we all get together and we call it bonding. Boom, boom, bonding. So the best way to bond is by going to pub crawls or having a drink around and sing along the piano. It's the mateship. It's engaging with the other players you play against week in, week out, who you respect and regard, but you don't know their personalities. So you try and get all that mixture into the one bowl and try and gel as quick as you possibly can, because the side that be able to gel the quickest is normally the victor.
Yeah.
And it's a trick. And you have that aura about yourself in camp. You have that privilege of rooming with one of the blokes that you don't play with or see or train with, and all of a sudden you're sleeping alongside him in the same room, and you think, oh my God, and they talk about things that you think, oh, that's what we believe also. I mean, the ethics of the Panthers compared to the West Tigers or to the Bulldogs or to any other club is just so vast different, and all of a sudden you get this culture so quickly in State of Origin.
Yeah, for sure. We might go last sort of question before we get into a small little head-for-head quiz. Best player you've played with and best current player in the NRL.
The best current player in the NRL today is Munster. He's without doubt probably the best player. I've almost likened him to Wally Lewis, how effective he is on a football paddock. Wally Lewis was probably the greatest player I played against at State of Origin level.
Yep.
And I see the likeness of Munster. He's young, vibrant, strong, very dominant, and such an impact player that I see. He's probably today, I think, he's probably the best player and has been for the last 2 years.
Yep. I think Munster's got a wrap 2 weeks in a row. Craig Wing gave him a wrap as well last week.
Did he? Yeah. Well, mate, it's not. Well, we've got a bloke in our side also, number 70, Nathan Cleary, who's really come of age in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
He's been a superstar. He's been a superstar for his club on and off the football paddock. He represents the game in exemplary fashion, and his attitude and his approach to the game is second to none. He's certainly grown up a lot in the last 12 months. He's become a kid into a real mature, authoritative leader, and I think that we'll see his leadership qualities tomorrow for New South Wales when he takes the field.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to the Dose Sports podcast, and bit of a different setting here, but we adapt, we overcome. That's what we do here. No Chuck this week though. He's been benched. Need to learn his trade back in reserve grade.
That's what happens when you know all about rugby league. So well deserved.
Yeah,
spell in the bin.
Hopefully he'll be back in a first grade soon. So anyway, we'll get to the regular segments. Give me a dose. Give me a dose on the buy round.
On the buy round?
Yeah.
Oh, it was trash. I'm off it.
Yeah.
Talked about last week having Origin on a Wednesday night. I still rate.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see an integration of other international games on that weekend, and players that aren't selected don't play, and that's their buy round, and the players that do probably miss out on a buy round. So I'd be talking about including one more game. But I just think the buy round's kind of lost the spectacle. Four games was very bad. 3-4 days wasn't very impressive.
Yeah. I think especially when you have a Thursday night game, like that just ruined it. I think you might have two on Saturday to maybe make it better, but even then, even getting Penrith like losing their streak because they sort of had 8 players out, like you don't want to see that happen. Even though obviously your Tigers get up.
Look, I think they were going to lose the streak either way.
Yeah,
didn't matter who was playing. Tigers just too good. Probably would have beat the Storm as well and the Eels. Yeah. Premiership favourites firming, as we've talked about in recent weeks. We all agreed unanimous decision.
No, we don't.
But yeah, no, there were definitely the games weren't as intriguing as we thought. You see 2 huge blowouts between really some depleted sides, and I just would have rather see maybe international games played up in the lead up to Origin, or don't have a bye this week.
Yeah, I mean, would you mind seeing maybe under 18s, under 20s? I know that's been spoken before.
I know we touched on it just before we got on the podcast, but I'm not personally drawn into watching under 18s or under 20s play rugby league.
Yeah.
I'm watching footy to see the first graders guard, and if I want to go watch on the 20s, I go down to Leichhardt on a weekend and
that's true.
Watch a couple boys with eyebrow slits guard it.
Yeah, that's fair. What was the next? Give me a dose.
Give me the dose. So during the week, Joshy Griffin for Hull in the Super League, running out of his own half, tore his Achilles completely, tore it off,
gone.
whatever, I don't know, I'm not a physio. And he goes to the ground in pain, yelping, drops the ball, puts the ball down on the ground essentially, and the 7 for St. Helens picks it up, scores a try.
Yeah, it's not.
Give me a dose, that's good sportsmanship.
No, so far from give me a dose. It's,
I was completely off it. You have to be such a...
And the worst bit is that they start celebrating the try.
Yeah, they start celebrating the try. And it's clearly a couple of boys from St. Helens weren't backing it. Yeah. If that was like 10, 15 years ago, you'd probably cop one on the chin. And I'm surprised that you don't still now. It's pretty poor form and poor sportsmanship.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one sort of got up into his way. Maybe because they're sort of helping him out with the clues, but
I don't know. Pretty toss a move.
It's the NRL's version of the man card, is it not?
Yeah, in a sense it is. Don't like to see it.
No. What was the next one?
Second one. So drawn from the Test matches, New Zealand, England,
New
in the lead up
Zealand.
to the Test Championship final. So England going to the 5th day after one day was completely washed out with rain, ending 276 in 90 overs at like 3.7 and over.
Not a
full day to bat.
Yeah.
They draw the Test, 100 runs needed, 3 wickets down, 2 set batsmen. I think it's a trash look for cricket.
I mean, when obviously they've been speaking about Test cricket's losing popularity over the world. It's not a great look if you're trying to keep the game alive like that. You should be going for it really on that day.
Everyone talks about how like the IPL and the 100 and the BBL have been booming in recent years, making a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
You don't want to see this. It's not a good spectacle for the game. You want a result. I think it shows a bit about the character of the England dressing room as well, not to go after the win on the 5th day. Like we've seen the comparison. India did it twice in Australia, chased hard on the last days, and if they weren't chasing the win, it was because they were in a situation where they were going to lose or draw.
Exactly. I think.
But if you're going
when
to
it went to the 4th test here, when they went for it in the morning, and then
and then shut up shop.
1 or 2 wickets, they shut up shop. But that's fine. Like,
that's good Test cricket. Like that's
obviously they're
tactical. That's smart, and you got to get through the day. But batting, scoring 170 in a day of cricket, losing 3 wickets, just not a good look for the game. Not ideal.
No.
Probably shows where the England squad's at a bit, I reckon, as well.
Yeah, for sure. Move on to a bit of Origin chat.
Bit of Origin chat, yeah, pretty exciting.
Tomorrow. Yeah. Team list came out today proper. Val Holmes named at fullback with Carl Felt going on the wing. Why not Brimson? Why not Brimson up there?
I don't think Brimson's knee's right. I wouldn't be surprised if Brimo's ruled out just before the start of the game.
Yep.
In fact, I don't see the point in Brimson being on the bench at all with the utility, like the nature of Hunt's. Hunt's so diverse in what his skill set is as a player that he probably should be the one at 14. And with 9 games of experience in Origin and a team that, in all honesty, is lacking experience. Now, Dane Gagai is the most capped Queenslander. Yeah. I'd be much more inclined to bring Benny Hunt in, and it's well deserved as well, I think.
No, he's been on a bit of a form run at the moment, and especially when Dragons aren't without him. We saw what happened when he broke his femur. They went in a bit of a
slump, So I think we may see a late change, and if not, if Queensland lose the first game, I definitely see Ben Hunt coming into the 14.
Yeah, I think they either Brimson gets ruled out before the game, or I think Brimson goes fullback before the game. I think that they're trying to just wig New South Wales out a bit. We sort of talked about it last week. The front rows, the forward pack, of Queensland versus the back line of New South Wales. I think that's where the real battle is. Like, obviously, New South Wales backline. Is this the best backline we've seen for New South Wales ever?
Look, it'd be hard to argue. I think you've got Cleary, Trbojevic, Mitchell and Tedesco are probably 4 of the most talented players in the NRL, purely on talent. Yep. We know Mitchell doesn't work very hard, but moving on from that, probably based on talent, 4 of the most talented players in one backline and all in key positions as well.
Yep,
When you look at it, you want your halfback to be strong, your fullback, and then you got 2 of the other best fullbacks in the comp playing in centres, and one of them is already a proven premiership winning centre. So I think it's kind of hard to go past it, that it may be. Yeah. Obviously, we'll look back
especially
after
in recent memory. You can't really...
Recent memory, it's hard to dispute, you'd say. I think the question mark's definitely going to be on Luai, whether he can deliver in Origin. And some people are still questioning whether Cleary's got that big game in him.
I mean, to be fair, you can't say he has got a big game in him because the sort of 2 or 3 big games that he had to step up, he hasn't stepped up in. So
Yeah, I mean, I think he's only lost 2 games in the last 25 NRL matches he's played.
It's not.
One of those was a grand final, and the other 2 were in Origin. So
Origin,
three in 25 or so.
Yeah.
So it's not the best record for him, but I think in the last 3 to 4 months of this season,
Yeah, he's
we've
definitely
seen he's
matured.
grown and matured a lot more and been much more of a dominant ball playing running 7.
Yeah, for sure. Forward pack for Queensland. Do you think Fafita can do some damage, or Tino, or is it? Do you think they will be nullified by New South Wales?
I'm not so worried about David Fafita. I think the edge back rows that New South Wales have could be able to handle him.
Yeah.
And as a group effort, it's not going to be like you don't want to get Fafita one-on-one, like 10 metres out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's never a good idea. But I'm a bit more concerned with the grunt that Queensland has.
Yeah.
Some said they got a bit more of a see next Tuesday attitude rather than New South Wales, and I tend to agree. So if I was picking a forward pack going into the series, I'd definitely be siding with the Queensland one. But I think the back line going in the game may just be a bit too strong if they can get Turbo, Mitchell and Teddy in space.
Yeah, I think obviously you said Queensland's back line is better than New South Wales, but it doesn't outweigh how good the backs are, and I think they've got way too much strike, and I'm not the biggest fan of Valentine Holmes at fullback, to be perfectly honest. But
yeah, I think the question mark is just solely over Brumo's fitness.
yeah, I think hopefully he comes back in and make the game a bit more interesting. If we go into score prediction, what do you reckon?
Drubbing. New South Wales dominate Queensland, and we watch yourself and Middo cry at home after a couple beers. I hope you both have a really awful night. Not gonna lie, I hope it's shit. So, no, I think New South Wales will get over the line.
Yeah,
13 plus.
13 plus.
I think dry. It's going to be dry in Townsville. It's going to be a quick deck, true. And we've seen points scored up in Townsville the last couple of weeks. And really, the attacks that both teams have, like Munster, DCE, Grant, Gagai, Coates, Holmes, and then New South Wales, obviously, Cleary, Luai, and Travojevic, and Mitchell, and Teddy. I think there's going to be a lot of points on the board.
That's for sure.
What about yourself?
I'm gonna back my boys in.
Back your
I'm
boys.
Gonna go Queensland 1-12 with a Harry Grant man of the match performance. I think. Big fan of Harry Grant. I think
that is why you're our residential nuffy.
We'll see tomorrow. We will see tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see tomorrow. Should be good.
That will lead us into our top 4 for the week.
Top 3.
Oh,
you can do top 4 if you want, mate.
Okay.
I don't have them.
Our top 4 Origin
memory.
moments. I've gone number 4. Cameron Munster's performance last year. In 2020 Game 3, I think that's just proven how big he is and a big game player. Obviously, we just had a chat to Benny Elias and Craig Wing last week. They both said he's the best player in the game. The reason is he's there in the big games, and that's what you need from a big player. So,
mate, if you looked at him in the beach, you wouldn't think he's the best player in the comp.
He's got an awful rig on him.
Benny Eichen was even saying on 360, they were saying he looks like a cow, but he turns up even at training, which probably surprised a few blokes.
He does. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Gow and Nate Miles throwing hands.
Yeah.
Probably the last Origin fight we've seen.
Yeah.
And probably the last one
we'll see. Rugby league, hey?
Yeah, unless Tino and Payne Haas guard it.
Surely.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I reckon Payne's still got a bit of baby face on him, but it'd be kind of funny to see him throw hands with Tino.
Oh, for sure. Number 3, I've gone the streaker, the 2013.
Yep.
Ruined it. Great Queensland try there, but Gordon Tallis, I don't know what he was doing on the field there.
Yeah, in disguise.
But
it was a fat man.
Yeah, it was a good moment in the last 10 years. What's your number 2?
Number 2, where was it? I just lost it. Oh, there it is. The Teddy sealing it in 2019. We were at your house, weren't we? Yeah. I do remember that vividly. Virgo goes down, throws a nice little forward pass. It's not called. Teddy scores and win the game.
Forward. It's not even
it was a pretty good moment.
That was Joe. Mitty enjoyed that, didn't he? He wasn't there for the rest of it. Number 2, I've gone 2009 Game 1. This is where I sort of thought Billy Slater. I understood why Billy Slater was regarded as best fullback. 2009, obviously Game 1, we remember Jared Hayne going down the touchline and then touching his foot, but then Billy Slater, the next try he scored, I think many people remember it's that try. It's Cameron Smith from dummy half puts it in and he scores it just before the touchline, and you'd always think Billy Slater's offside, but when you look every time, he times his run to perfection. I thought, this guy's my favourite player. This is why I like Billy Slater. So that's my number 2.
Always knew you were a Glory
Number
supporter.
3, sorry. Is that number?
That's
number 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 1, 2014 win. Grow up your whole childhood not seeing New South Wales win to watch Trent Hodkinson and Josh Reynolds bring it home. It's pretty good.
It's a disgrace.
I love to see Jared Hayne run in the stands after as well.
Yeah,
So,
every time I see that on YouTube, I have to like skip it or not watch it. I just can't watch it.
nah, that's good, mate.
My number 1 is Wally Lewis and Mark Geyer. That sort of fight and that aggression when they both got sent off. I think that's sort of what Origin is about. And every time you sort of see Origin hype and sort of Origin, that photo of them two holding each other face to face is what you see in every Origin hype up. So I think that's really what Origin's about. And you can't really get that anymore. You can't really get those fights anymore. So
we'll talk to Benny today. We'll put the bits in the podcast. He thought if he was given the rule book by PVL that he'd bring back the shoulder charge for Origin and only Origin. So that was an interesting call by him. So
I would have thought you bring back fighting for Origin rather than shoulder charge. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going that far anyway.
If you speak to one of our most dedicated viewers, Jack Bredden, he'd tell you he thinks there should be a UFC sparring fight before Origin to get you in the mood. That's what he was backing.
I'll back that. That's a great call from Jackie. That is a very good call. That's good.
Shout out. Was it B Moz or Josh Morris that did the chase down tackle when he was injured?
Josh Morris got injured. Speaking of that, B Morris retired. Does he go down as one of the greats?
You'd have to. He's 4th on the try scoring records, and he kind of changed the way the wingers played the game.
Yeah.
He was so athletic and so dynamic, explosive, and he just got a great record.
Yeah.
So you got to give him all the respect he deserves, and I think we may not look back on it now, but in maybe a couple of years we'll realise how great he was and how much of an influence he had on the game.
Yeah, for sure.
I think definitely.
He's one of the great wingers, especially even from a Queensland perspective. Like, looking at, you'd always think New South Wales, he's probably one of the guaranteed people to be there during that sort of slump where they chopped and changed every single person, but he always was there. So that's just credit to BMOS. Should we get into the games of the weekend?
Or break it up with a bit of Euros.
We could break it up with a bit of Euros. So let's go into Euros. Who have you got winning in the Euros?
I think I'm going to back the favourite, but I'm interested to see how they turn up on paper. I'm excited to see Benzema get back in the side after we talked about last week after he leaked a little bit of a sex tape of Matthew Valbuena. He's back in after a long time out. So I think he's important.
Isn't this case still ongoing?
Yeah, but it's France.
know.
You'll just pay him off.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. I think him up front will be really dynamic. We're not seeing him produce a ton of goals, but he'll create a lot as well, like he has been doing. Yeah. So I've still got them. I think their backline's rock solid. Lloris obviously keeper. I think midfield will be do really well. So I think it's going to be hard to knock France off the pedestal they're on at the moment. What about yourself?
I don't know. France does look like the obvious option, but I want to go England. I think if there's a time to do it, why not? Why not England? I think, they're both their domestic sides been in Champions League, so why not? Time for England to step up and win a.
You have to edit in the Harry Maguire right there. Oh my god, nah. I don't think England. I think England will go deep. I don't think they'll win it though. It would be a bit hard to win it if they get injuries, considering they've got about 7 right backs going into the tournament. Not too sure what's going on there, but no, they're a much improved squad than they have been in recent years. I think in big tournaments.
Oh, definitely. I think even going to 2018 World Cup, they had a good team going in and getting out with a semi-final result. I think they've got a better team going into these Euros, and I think.
Yeah,
Phil Foden and Harry Kane continue the form they sort of were in.
I think there's definitely been a bit of a changing of the guard in world football in the last 12 to 18 months. We've seen some of the older players that have stepped down and retired, some of the greats of the game, and we've seen a younger generation come through and probably step up a bit sooner than most would have expected in a whole in some of Europe's top 5 leagues. Yeah. So I think it's definitely going to be a more exciting tournament. In terms of dark horses, who do you have as a dark horse?
I was looking through. It's kind of hard to tell. I was thinking maybe in Austria or someone like that, because they did qualify as the top of the group. But it's really hard to pick a dark horse. I'm not.
Look, to be honest, I'm far from familiar with Austria's lineup.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm just looking at their previous results. They qualified pretty good, so
yeah, they
maybe
could.
I'll go with them.
I'm going to go Portugal. I'm going to say it's weird to call the previous winner and reigning champion a dark horse.
But
I think they are a dark horse.
They're in a tough group.
They are in a tough group, the group of death.
But they should get out.
But I think they'll get out in a way or another. I think it will be a good campaign for them. Not necessarily win it, but I think they'll go deep again, and it may be one of Ronaldo's last major tournaments.
Oh,
so
sure.
There's a lot on the line for Portugal, but I think it'll be a good tournament for them.
And top goal scorer is our last one.
Rom Lukaku, 100%. He's looking in ripping shape. Yeah, Harry Kane can't score goals if DCL's starting, mate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not a chance that's happening. Good Euros wrap up. Move into the games that happened on the weekend for the NRL. First one, Dragons Broncos.
Yep. Look,
just where does Duffy go? Does he surely has to resign? I don't know what the talk is there.
He's been told to look elsewhere.
But he can't go.
I'm not on the Duffy hype train.
You're not?
No, I'm far from it. I think he's bang average fullback. He's nothing special. Mate, if you want to towel up the Broncos, go for your life. And anyone that tipped the Broncos on the weekend, you're an absolute nuffy. Because if you look at those teams on paper, there was never a chance the Broncos were going to go toe-to-toe with St. George. And I don't really think the scoreline at the end did justice. I think Jesse Arthur's consolation try at the end probably makes it look a little bit better for Broncos.
Yeah.
But a couple of talking points out of that. Obviously, the comparison between the two fullbacks, Dufty having a blinder and Asako getting hooked with 15 minutes to go.
You enjoy that one, didn't you?
I hated that one because I brought Asako in this week in Supercoach and he's dropped in this week as well. I think it's interesting. Asako is a New Zealand rep and Dufty is far from a rep player, and it's a bit of a comparison. I think
Dufty's miles ahead of Asako. Even because we're talking about defensively, Dufty's not up to it. Like, Asako's defence and positioning compared to Dufty is nowhere near.
Asako's dad did die 2 days before the game.
It's got nothing. I'm sorry for that, but Asako is he's not the greatest fullback. I'd say he's not. Fullback.
I just think it's interesting. I don't think either of them will be at their respective clubs next year, and I think it will be a bit interesting. They're both players that are mid-table. If you're going to rank the fullbacks, they're probably mid-table.
Yeah, for sure.
Fullbacks, and it's where they can go and get the best. Like, who can get the best out of them. And I think the time when Dufty at the Dragons up, clearly Merry didn't like him at fullback.
Yeah, for sure.
And clearly Griff is making it known early that
he's
Dufty's free to look elsewhere.
Yeah. They've been talking about him going to Raiders.
Raiders, I don't see happening. I think Chance will stay at 1.
Yeah.
But there is talk that he could go to centre if Dufty came. But I don't think that's going to solve the Raiders' problems. I think they're looking at it. Friday's match.
Yes.
I've got a lot to talk about Friday's match. What a blinder. Luke Brooks is okay, talk about criminally underrated Luke Brooks.
No,
probably the form half in the comp, bar Nathan Cleary and maybe Jerome Hughes the last month.
All I'm seeing is face palms.
He's been exceptional. He was so good on the weekend. 117 run meters, 85% tackle efficiency, 1 try assist, 3 tackle breaks, 1 line break and 2 offloads. Now, I can't tell if that's the stats of a prop or if it's stats of a halfback. That's how good he's going.
Yeah, well, it's not too good if it's...
But he's been bloody dominant as well. He's dominated the halves pairing, and Mbai's been really good with him. I think the impressive thing about the Tigers is it 100% was a Dange game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think if you're putting expectations on the Panthers to win, you're really just not looking at who's playing and who's out.
I did think the Panthers should win. I thought... talking about Panthers, I thought Matty Burton was really poor. I thought he should have... Or his 5th tackles options were so bad. And obviously Tyron May's not an out-and-out 7. You can't really blame him. But Burton, they sort of relied on him and he was really poor, I thought. But credit to Tigers. But Luke Brooks formed half of the comp. Are you...
Boy, he is, mate. Look at the stats.
No,
Stats speaks. Words, mate. I didn't say Sam Walker was top 6 halves in the comp, though.
I think...
You did about 2 weeks ago. So, no, I think Matt Burton wasn't bad. I think Tyrone May is the experienced half there. And I don't think he's doing his job.
Really.
Well, he's a half. He's a 5'8".
Yeah, but you need a half. There's a big difference between.
Yeah, but he's the experienced like half
Yeah,
the team.
I know what you mean. But they did rely on Burton a lot more than
Yeah,
him.
100% they did. But I don't think there's much else Burton could do. He's still a young player who's learning.
Yeah.
I just think Panthers were a bit outgunned and outplayed in the end. Tigers were tougher and more resilient for longer. And, yeah, that's probably I think that's why it blew out at the end as well.
What did you think about the fans having a go at Ivan?
Ivan Cleary is a tosser.
He
and
deserves it. I think he deserved it after
if
the
you
last
do,
time.
If you do listen to the Dose podcast, you can unsubscribe.
No.
I'll blow you a little kiss, mate.
Yeah, for what he did last time, I think that was warranted.
It's well deserved.
For what he,
Hopefully it's good rivalry because we play them again like round 20. So that's another 2 points locked in for the Tigers. See you in September, boys.
Delusional. Next game, Storm v Titans. That was actually a pretty interesting game. Storm, they shouldn't have won, really.
It was error riddled.
They really shouldn't have won, but
Yeah.
they got the job done. Brian Kelly, I don't know what he should he be dropped or something.
Oh, he knows how to bomb a try. No, he's a strike centre and he's on
he's
good
all right.
point. And
Yeah.
some weeks it doesn't all fall your way.
Yep.
I think a bit of a shout out to Jaden Campbell.
Yep.
Absolutely tiny bloke, son of Preston.
Yeah.
An
He
inaugural
played pretty good.
Gold Coast Titan. Did really well.
Needs
Needs a haircut.
That rat tail was filthy. That's talking about it in the week. Preston on his debut, made his debut at 58 kilos. I was just thinking, like, how can you make a debut in at 58 kilos?
No, it's crazy.
It's
Different
crazy.
time.
Different
Definitely
time.
different time.
But still, 58. We were talking to Craig Wing last week, 76 kilos he debuted, and then he was saying he's getting towed up by big bloke, so
Yeah.
he can run the ball out every set. So
Yeah.
credit to Preston there, but
That's a good game by him.
Jaden Campbell, he looks like a good option, but Titans, if they want to really sort their spot, they got to put games like that away.
I'm starting to think less and less that the Titans are going to
Make
be
the
that team in the eight.
Yeah.
I honestly think if there's 3 or 4 teams in the conversation for that 7th or 8th spot, or even 5, come the
Warriors,
back end of the
Cowboys.
season, I think it may be if everyone can stay within 1 win or 2 wins of each other. I think it's going to be it's going to be an important last month of footy.
Yeah,
It's
it'll
going
be
to
real
come down
tight.
to who's in the best form at the back end of the season.
I think also who's got a good draw coming in. I'm not too sure who's got a better draw coming in, but yeah, someone's going to get unlucky. Going
Tigers got a pretty easy one. I think it goes Para, Storm, South Sydney, Broncos, Manly.
Yeah, no, not the easiest draw for Tigers in there. Last game of the round. That was just a disappointment for Newcastle. Not even 40-4. Parramatta, they turned up to be fair, Parramatta, but Knights on Old Boys Day. It's disappointing to see that they dish up a performance like that, really.
But yeah, it's not the first time the Knights haven't got up for a big game this year either. I mean, Mitch Pearce's 300th.
Yeah, they
Tigers won
struggled.
that as well.
Yeah.
Speak of the Devils. But it's also coming out that Adam O'Brien is rejecting any assistance from the board to get Shane Flanagan on board.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit interesting. I think obviously Adam backs the way he's got the club, the direction the club's going under him.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some questions raised about whether the play style he's brought across is really going to work for the team. But he's also just been decimated by injuries
it's
all
hard
year.
to when $2 million of your salary cap sitting in the coach's box every week. It's not the most ideal situation he's come in, and I think ever since he's come in, they've not really had a good run with injuries. I think maybe the first season was where they did all right, but even then, it's not great for Newcastle. Do you see them making the 8?
No, I think Newcastle's well out of the conversation. I think they're okay with it probably accepting that at the moment,
Yeah.
unless Pearce and Ponga return.
I think
And Pearce
Ponga
returns a
can-
bit
yeah.
sooner than expected, and then we may see a swing of form. Obviously, Brayley's been really good.
Yeah.
And Clifford's just came into the side. Where Clifford and Kurt Mann fit into this whole setup,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting because I view Clifford as a 7
7
and
more than
Mann as a 6. So I think it's likely one of them's going to be on the bench, but do you put your 5'8" on the bench who's been there for 2 years and has a good combo going? I'm not sure.
I think for this season, I think you go with Kurt Mann over Jake Clifford.
Yeah, I mean, that's why there's rumours that Mitch Pearce may go back to the Sharks. So, Mitch Pearce back to, where was it? Yeah.
Roosters? Or
No, Sharks with Craig Fitzgibbon. Pearce go
lining
to
up
the
with
Sharks.
Fitzy.
Yeah.
That could happen.
But
There's-
Para really dominant
Very good.
performance again. So I think they're cementing their spot in the top 4. And obviously, having barely any Origin players out always
helps.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
they only Junior. go out.
Junior, and obviously Reed's injured, but I
Reed's,
think
yeah.
they'll be able to cover that, but maybe not too well come this week.
Fair enough.
Moving on to
What do we want to move
AFL?
on to? You want to move on to the AFL? We can go for that.
we'll get right on to that.
What was your...
Or do you want to go tips?
Yeah, we can go tips for if you want.
Tips.
I don't mind. We go
So-
tips.
Yeah.
Seagulls Cowboys first game
At
at home for
Seagulls.
Seagulls. Sharks v Panthers.
Panthers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go Panthers. Titans v Roosters.
Chooks, definitely.
Do you have anyone out? Or
Who?
will Tedesco come back and play?
I think Teddy will come back Saturday game. He's been all right. I don't think he's under an injury cloud.
Yeah,
Definitely doesn't have tonsillitis like Dango guy
Dango
supposedly
guy.
does.
Yeah. Rabbitohs versus Knights.
South.
Raiders Broncos.
Raiders.
Warriors Storm.
Storm.
And then Eels Tigers.
Tigers 13 plus.
I'm changing Eels on that one. And then we got a Monday game. Not Easter Monday. Public holiday Monday or whatever.
Yeah. No, Queen's birthday,
Queen's
isn't
birthday,
it?
that's the one.
I don't know.
Bulldogs Dragons. That's a bludger.
Dragons, that's game of the round. That's going to be trash.
That is the definition of game of the round, that one. Moving on to AFL.
I think, so Brisbane played the D's at Giant Stadium. Probably not where you wanted the game to be held. Shame it couldn't get up to Brisbane, but it was a cracking game. It was really game of two halves. Brisbane were outrun in the second quarters. I think Melbourne's won like 78% of their second halves this year or something, or been up for 78% of them.
Yeah.
So they were really dominant. I mean, Petrarca and Oliver put on a clinic again to swing the scoreboard 40 points in their favour in the third quarter almost.
Not as many disposals as they usually get, though, but...
No, but they were effective.
Yeah.
I think one of them could win the Brownlow this year, but they'll be sharing the points
Petrarca.
between each other.
That's a problem.
But Brisbane were really good still. I don't, they just didn't have the legs, but they've definitely come into form that we didn't see early in the season. So
I think, what was it? I think the first 3 weeks we were rolling them out, eh?
I didn't think they were out, but they'll definitely be in the top four, I think. They really took it to Melbourne and got the jump on them early, but they just couldn't finish off the job in the second half.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's just how it goes. Then second big game, I thought
Swannies?
Saints versus Swans. I think Sydney's still a really young side, and maybe the stats don't show it, but if you were to break it down, and if you're going to take like Lance Franklin, Luke Parker and Josh Kennedy out of the side, then the number of games per player just drops drastically. So they're still really young and learning. To get the 9-point win over Saints at home is really important. But it really came down to Jack Higgins and the Saints' wayward goal kicking. Even though Sydney had 4 more scoring shots, you kick 1-6 on the day. You either you could go home with Bog, or you could go home and realise that you lost your team in the game.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is. I think Parker was still really impressive. Hickey had another great game. Debutant Joel Armity,
Jesus Christ.
He had he had a pretty good game. 14 hit outs. 10 or 12 disposals, and missed out on his first goal in AFL footy, but it's another win, and Sydney stay within the 8, so it's important.
Nice. Next game you want to talk about?
Next game, it's a bit about Carlton and West Coast. West Coast still remain the most injury hit team in the comp, and this was really a week for Carlton to bounce back. Carlton had been in Sydney for 2 weeks. I think they'd be settled. Obviously, it would have been in Melbourne, but you can't do that at the moment, and West Coast have to travel. I think it's getting to the point where it's pretty dangerous area for Carlton, because they're looking at re-signing Walsh and Cribbs and Harry McKay in the next year or two.
All of them?
I think salary cap wise they could negotiate it, but I'm more concerned that they're not going to be the position on the ladder to have that lure to stay, even though it is, we're talking club captains and like they're fans themselves of the clubs. But I think West Coast is probably... It's doing its best to cement itself as a top 8 side with the outs it's got. Nick Nat was really influential. First game as captain for the club, and then Jack Redden went on the inside the guts again and had a really good game. 5 score involvements, 22 touches at over 70% efficiency, and 10 tackles. So there's a lot of danger signs for Carlton. But I think there's some hope for West Coast that they may, if they get players back out on the park, they'll go deep in September.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because they've been hit by injury massively.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else from the AFL you want to?
No, that's 3 of the bigger games.
3 big games. We might go to Finny Goes Global. Last segment. Might start with PGA. John Rahm. I don't know if you've heard of it. John Rahm was dominating the tournament. 3 rounds in, 6-shot lead, and he got done with a positive COVID test. I'm not too sure why he was even playing in the first place if he had a pending COVID test. But look, it's a bit unlucky for him because even in the 4th round, they didn't even reach his score in the 3rd round. But yeah, it's a bit interesting. It went down to the wire as well. Into a playoff, which was interesting. Patrick Cantlay coming out, and but unlucky for John Rahm. But still, I'm not sure why he was playing in the first place. And then my second one, the F1, real entertaining race in Azerbaijan over the weekend. Max Verstappen obviously leading the race. Tyre gets blown out, and then Lewis Hamilton obviously chance to turn back the tide in the championship, starting second in the restart, and kooks it really, just locks his brakes, go out and comes last of the cars remaining. So it's really good race, and see Perez win, and Sebastian Vettel hasn't finished lower than 4th there. It's entertaining to see Sebastian Vettel back on the grid. So yeah, that was it.
Yep, that was a good take on the race. I think Charlie said he missed it. He was watching paint dry, but
yeah, he's not the biggest fan.
Not the biggest fan of the races.
No. That'll pretty much wrap us up.
That'll wrap us up.
Thanks to City Tassels for having us, and our major sponsors Connection Sport and Scape for supporting us. And thanks for everyone coming out. Benny, any last words you want to jump in?
Up the Tiggies this weekend.
Up the Tiggies, eh?
On the rise.
On the rise. All right, thanks.